Hey there nation, and welcome to the show where we help you to play miniatures wargaming on a budget. It is I, Commander Cheapskate, and welcome to Season 2 of It Came From the Sump, our series dedicated to the Necromunda Community Event, co-hosted by Dr. Drybrush and myself. It Came From the Sump is a vehicle-based narrative Necromunda campaign set in the Sump Sea of Necromunda. And on today's video is Battle Report number 20. It is a shootout scenario that's fought between Big Puka as well as the Kiddo. The Big Puka is bringing the deep ones of House Delaque, while the Kiddo is bringing the wild 7 of the Venators. So these two gangs will be walking along the Lonely Mile, facing off against one another in a Wild West inspired shootout scenario right on top of the Sump Sea. So we're going to play some background music real quick, and as the music is playing, we'll show you photos as well as rosters for both gangs. And because this video is a little bit more of a deeper dive, I will put timestamps in the description box down below, so that way you can click and navigate to the part of the video that interests you the most. So that being said, let's get this battle report on a roll.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, dying times here.
So just a quick reminder, during this campaign week, our complication is Beastquake, which means that no gang can generate boons or income from any of the territories they possess, unless of course that gang does a secure territory action. They can choose any fighter within their gang in order to perform this post-battle action sequence, and they roll a d6. Now if they roll a 1, they suffer lasting injury, and they generate no boons or income from that piece of territory. But if they roll anything else, they can generate income as normal. Now the scenario for this one is a oldie but goodie. It's one that we love to host on this channel. It's called the shootout scenario. Now there are no vehicles or mounted fighters allowed, and of course you have up to D3 plus 1 random fighters chosen from your rosters. In this situation, both Big Puka as well as the Kiddo generated 4 fighters from their rosters. Now, they deploy from 10 inches from the short edge, at least 1 inch away from each other, and they lined up against each other like an old school Wild West shootout, just as you can see in this photo right behind the text. Now, basically, when it comes to the battle, ending the battle only ends when there's no fighters left on the battlefield, and the victory condition is to be the very last gang standing. Now, for the quick draw phase, which takes place before the actual battle report starts, what ends up happening is that each activation, each fighter must take a cool test, and if it's failed, we place a little marker behind them. Now, when the gangs move also 3 inches towards each other every single time they do this. Now, they keep on moving forward and rolling cool tests like this as long as they stay within 4 inches away from each other, and at the same time, a gang that fails 6 cool tests means that they've lost their cool, they go for their guns, and the shootout begins. Now, the shootout phase, it means that all fighters become ready and must take an initiative test. If you're actually using a sidearm, you actually get a +1 to that initiative test, and if you're using any other weapon like an unwieldy weapon, it's -2 penalty on that. Now, those that pass the initiative test will activate in the order of initiative during the actual shootout phase, and of course those that fail the activate order with their initiative from lowest to highest will then take turns shooting each other. Now, once the shootout is over, normal Necromunda applies as always. Now, the rewards for this scenario is that you earn d6 times 5 credits for each enemy fighter that you manage to take out of action. Any fighter who didn't fail a cool test before the shootout also earns a bonus experience point. Each gang that participates in this battle report also earns 1 point reputation. And of course, when it comes to the overliner of the campaign of the scenario, the difference between the cool test ends up being additional points of reputation for the gang that actually wins. So now that we're done with the scenario rules, let's go ahead and talk about deployments and battle plans. Alright, so let's go on to talk about deployment real quick. The kiddo has lined up her Venators on the left-hand side of the battlefield, and up first is Rhine, one of her rattling hunters. This character's got mesh armor as well as a Alaska with a hotshot last pack and an infrasight, also packing last pistol with a sniping, sneaking, as well as slopping special rules. To the left of Ryan is Doc, another squat hunter who's actually quite a bit of a veteran in this campaign. He's packing mesh armor as well as an Ironhead auto gun with a telescopic sight. He's also packing Ironhead auto pistol as well as Medicaid kit, and he's also got the better enmity towards corpse grinder cults. Smack dab in the middle of the formation is Fee-Fi, an Ogren Hunt champion. This character's got mesh armor as well as a chain glaive, a combo pistol, which is a combination of stub gun as well as hand flamer. He also has an infiltrate skill, but that's not really going to help him out too much in this battle report. And the very last fighter representing the Wild 7 is Bashful, another squad hunter with mesh armor. He's also got a long rifle with infrasight, also got an Ironhead stub gun. He's also a specialist. He's also got the fast shot skill. On the right-hand side of the battlefield, lined up against the Wild 7, are the Deep Ones of House Delaque. This is Big Puka's gang, and these guys are absolutely lethal. On the very bottom right-hand corner is Darkhand Mandoth. He is the Phantom for this gang. He's got mesh armor and armor undersuit, as well as a grav gun, also packing an auto pistol with a gun shroud. He's got photo goggles, as well as the Overwatch skill. To the right of him is Ichabod the Arachna, a ghost who's also got mesh armor, also packing a last gun with an infrasight, as well as a gun shroud on top of that last gun, also packing a auto pistol as a backup weapon. In the middle of the formation is Feral Rod, another ghost from the gang. He's also got mesh armor as well as a shotgun with solid and scattered ammo, also has a gun shroud on that shotgun as well, also packing auto pistol as a sidearm and has photo goggles. And lastly, rounding up the top of the formation is Astaroth the Mirelurk. The gang's not cool. Got a mesh armor as well as armor undersuit for a 4-up armor save. He's got Serpent's Fangs, which are quite lethal, an auto pistol with a gun shroud, photo goggles. He's got the Catfall, Spring Up skills, as well as From the Shadow special rule, but won't really apply to him in this scenario. So as you can see, both gangs are lined up. Also, both gangs also have sidearms, which is going to help them quite a bit for the initiative test. So we go directly to the quick draw phase, where our gangs start walking towards each other and talking about their cool characteristics. So for turn 1, the members of the Wild 7 march up forward. Unfortunately for the kiddo, Doc as well as Bashful both failed cool tests, so they have 2 cool tests that they've actually failed up to this point. Meanwhile, on the right-hand side with the Deep Ones of House Delaque, pretty cool going forward. Darkhand Mandoth, the champion, oddly enough, was the only one who failed his cool test, so they have 1 failed cool test up to this point. And as you can see from this overhead shot from both sides, they're slowly inching towards each other, going directly towards the middle as they walk down the lonely mile to face off against one another. Unfortunately for the Wild 7, more cool tests are actually failed on the second turn as they walk up forward. Bashful losing another one, with Fee-Fi also losing another cool test, and Doc losing a second cool test as well. Now remember, in the scenario rules, the game that breaks 6 cool tests, that's pretty much going to start the shootout. And as you can see, right off the bat, the Wild 7 have 5 cool tests that they failed. And oddly enough, the same thing kind of happens for the House Delaque of the Deep Ones. They actually failed 3 cool tests this time around, 1 for Ichabod the Arachna, as well as Feral Rod. So they have 3 failed cool tests at this point. So they're about halfway there before they start going for their guns. And as you can see, after the second round, both gangs have advanced even closer to one another, as well as they slowly make their way to face off and to shoot one another down like dogs in the streets. So turn 3 also picks up once again. The Wild 7 move up another 3 inches, and this time they have failed their cool test. Bashful this time losing a third cool test this time around, and when combined with Fee-Fi's first failed cool test as well as Doc's second, they've actually hit the threshold of 6, so we'll be going to the shootout after this quick draw phase. And the Deep Ones of Hell's Delaque also failed a couple of cool tests as well. Ichabod the Arachnid failed a second one, and same thing with Darkhand Mandoth, the Phantom for the gang as well. So they actually have 5 cool tests failed, which means that they'll get an additional bonus reputation point at the end of the scenario for actually, the difference between both gangs if they manage to win it. And as you can see, both gangs now are extreme close distance to one another. I believe they're within 6 inches of one another. So because of that, we go directly to the quick draw phase, and everyone takes initiative tests. So there's an overhead shot of the entirety of the quick draw phase. As you can see, both groups actually roll off from the initiative test. They get +1 initiative as well if they're using sidearms, and all 4 members of both sides of the gangs decide to go for sidearms as their primary weapons. As you can see, the blue dice represent those who've actually passed their initiative tests, while the other represent those who've actually failed their initiative tests. So starting off with the Wild 7 of the Venators, both Ryan as well as Doc as well as Fee-Fi, all 3 of those fighters actually passed their initiative test no problem. Bashful, on the other hand, did not, so he'll probably be one of the last ones to actually go for his weapon. And pretty much the same kind of thing is happening over here for the Deep Ones. Astaroth the Mirelurk passes his initiative test, same thing with Feral Rod. Ichabod the Arachnid failed his, but Darkhand Mandoth passed his as well. So because I did get those bonuses from those sidearms. So now that all the fighters are done with their initiative test, we now go into the order of engagement. So once we pass our initiative test, the next thing we got to do, of course, is to go in order of initiative to figure out which part of the shootout these guys will be going first. Now, unfortunately for the Wild 7, they don't actually do very good. Actually, Ryan, which is the little rattling fighter at the bottom of the screen there, he'll be engaging in the second turn of the shootout, with Fee-Fi engaging in the third, and finally Doc will be the 4th member of this gang to actually go. Unfortunately, Bash will be the very last guy to go in the very last part of it because he failed his initiative test. Meanwhile, for the Deep Ones, Astaroth and Mirelurk will be actually going first, then followed by the Venators, and then third phase we have Feral Rod as well as Darkhand Mandoth that will be shooting at the same time as everybody else on the third initiative ranking for the order of engagement. And then lastly, of course, Ichabod the Arachnid will be going last for his gang as well. So because of that, the very first person we're going to activate is Astaroth the Mirelurk. So Astaroth the Mirelurk is the very first member of this gang to open fire first, and he's opening fire, of course, with his auto pistol. Because of that initiative 2 score, he has a really good job. As well as that ballistic flight 3 skill makes him quite deadly. So Astaroth the Mirelurk, of course, has to engage the fighter who is directly across from him. In this case, it's Bashful, the squat hunter, who's got a long rifle as well as infrasight. He's also got mesh armor as well. So Astaroth the Mirelurk is targeting Bashful. He's opening fire with his auto pistol with a gun shroud, striking at strength 3 as well as rapid fire 1 as well, and with a blitz skill of 3+, he just needs a 3 in order to hit. Astaroth the Mirelurk managed to land just one single shot directly against Bashful, and with a strength 3 versus a toughness of 4, Bashful ends up having an advantage in this situation. So because of Astaroth the Mirelurk, we need to roll a 5 or higher in order to wound him. So Big Puka rolls a d6 and manages to secure that wound roll against Bashful. Now Bashful is equipped with mesh armor, giving a 5 up armor save. There's no AP for the auto pistol, and unfortunately for the kiddo, she fails her armor save for Bashful. But fortune actually ends up favoring her by giving a flesh wound directly to Bashful, so he is pinned, and he also has 1 toughness less in his value, but that makes him toughness 3, which pretty much puts him on par for the rest of the Delaque. The guy can still fight, still shoot, very much a threat. So going to tier 2 of the shootout phase, we start with Ryan, of course, which is the Rattling Hunter. This guy is also packing a last pistol as well. And of course he opens fire directly at Darkhand Mandoth, but unfortunately for Ryan though, he misses his shot, so because of that, nothing much really happens there. So round 3 is actually seeing 3 different fighters shooting at each other at exactly the same time, which is Darkhand Mandoth as well as Feral Rod and Fee-Fi. So how it works basically in the shootout is that all the characters make their attack rolls and they do their wound rolls and their hit rolls, and then once all the fighters have done that, then of course we roll for injuries and to see what happens to the characters as well. So we decided to go with Darkhand Mandoth real quick just because Ryan went for the last round. So Darkhand Mandoth, of course, is going to open fire with his auto pistol that's equipped with a gun shroud. Dark Band Mandoth has to engage the target that is closest to him, and right across from him directly is Rhine, so because of that, it will be the target for the shootout. So Dark Band Mandoth is targeting Rhine. He is packing an auto pistol with a gun shroud, having him strike at strength 3 with rapid fire 1. He does have a ballistic skill 3+, so he needs a 3 up in order to hit Rhine. Managed to land 3 hits against Rhine, so that part is quite devastating as well. And with a strength of 3 versus a toughness of 3 for the rattling Dark Hand Mandoth, needs to roll a 4+ in order to wound. Unfortunately for Big Puka, however, the dice were not with him. He was only able to land 1 wound directly against Rhine. And Rhine, of course, is wearing mesh armor with a 5 armor save, but unfortunately for the kiddo, she fails her armor save as well. So the kiddo rolls injury dice. Luckily for her, she rolls a flesh wound, so because that Rhine is currently pinned, and he also loses 1 point off his toughness, dropping him down to toughness 2. However, though, fighters who have flesh wounds can still fight, they can still move. It's still very much a threat, so we'll see exactly what ends up happening after the shootout ends. Up next is Fi as well as Fellow Rod. Unfortunately for the kiddo though, Fi, even with that combat pistol that he has, the stub gun, he's still striking at ballistic skill 5. Unfortunately for him though, he misses his shot entirely. And for Feral Rod, exactly the same thing ends up happening. Feral Rod does a quick draw, opening fire with his auto pistol directly at Fi, but unfortunately for him though, he misses his shot as well, so nothing much happens there. So with Tier 3 of the shooting engagement over with, we go directly to the Tier 4, which is Doc, the Squad Hunter. He's also packing an Ironhead auto pistol, which is actually quite nice because they get rapid fire 2 on those weapons. And Doc has to shoot the fire that's directly across from him, which in this situation is Ichabod the Arachna, which is the ghost who's armed with a lasgun. So Doc is targeting Ichabod the Arachna, open firing with his Ironhead auto pistol, striking at strength 3 with 1 damage, rapid fire 2, and the ballistic skill of 4+, Doc needs to roll a 4 higher in order to land those shots against Ichabod the Arachna. The kiddo has no problem rolling that 4+ to hit, and managed to put 4 strikes directly against Ichabod the Arachna as well. Now, luckily for Ichabod the Arachna though, he does have a toughness of 4, which makes it a little bit more difficult for Doc to actually land one of those penetrating blows against him. So because of that, he needs to roll a 5+ in order to wound against the ghost. Of those 4 hits, only 1 manages to wound against Ichabod the Arachna. Ichabod the Arachna, of course, is packing mesh armor, so he gets a 5+ for his armor save, but unfortunately for Big Puka, though, he fails that armor save. So Big Puka rolls the injury dice, and unfortunately rolls a serious injury for the ghost, so because that feral rat takes a bullet directly to the chest, he falls face down to the cold hard concrete, and he's laying on the ground currently bleeding out right next to his peers. So the shootout officially over, we go directly to turn number 1 of the game because now it takes like normal game of Necromunda, and the Venators actually managed to win the initiative on this one, so they will have priority. And the kiddo, the very first thing she decides to do, of course, is to do a group activation with Fi. However, before Fi as well as Doc can do anything for the group activation, Dark Hand Mandoth actually interrupts the activation using his Overwatch skill to fire his grav gun directly at both those fighters. Unfortunately for Big Puka though, he misses his shot, so because of that, nothing much really happens there. So because of that, Doc actually ends up going next. He's going to actually be the very first fighter for this activation, and he decides he's going to take a basic action to aim, as well as another basic action to open fire his Ironhead auto gun directly towards Dark Hand Mandoth. So Doc is firing at Dark Hand Mandoth with an Ironhead autogun with telescopic sight, giving him a +2 in order to hit. And the reason why is because he gets a +1 to hit for that aim action, as well as an additional +1 to hit by utilizing the short range modifier from the autogun to the long range shot due to the telescopic sight as well. Doc has a ballistic skill of 4+, at the same time he needs to roll a 2+ in order to hit, and he's also striking at strength 3 with 1 damage and rapid fire 2. So the hell of gunfire and lead flying through the air, Doc managed to hit Dark Hand Mandoth 4 different times with that autogun, striking at strength 3 versus a toughness of 3 as well. My little sister the kiddo decided to put all 4 of her shots directly into Dark Hand Mandoth just because she really wants to make sure she takes out that champion, because that grav gun can be quite deadly, especially in these really close shooting actions. So because of that, with a strength of 3 versus a toughness of 3, Doc will roll a 4+ in order to wound. And fortune favored the kid on this one. All 4 of her shots did manage to wound against Dark Hand Mandoth. Now Dark Hand Mandoth is wearing mesh armor with an armored undersuit, so that jumps his armor save to a 4+. There is no armor penetration on the Ironhead autogun, so because of that, Dark Hand Mandoth gets a 4+ to save. But unfortunately for Pika though, Big Puka, he fails 3 times. All 3 damage cut directly towards through Darkhand Mandoth's wound, so because that he does fall to the ground, actually ends up rolling an out of action result for the injury dice on that one, getting a 23, which puts him out cold. So because of that, Darkhand Mandoth will no longer be participating in this battle report, but he'll make a full recovery no problem. At the same time, Doc earns some bonus experience points and takes out the first blood by taking out the very first Delaque fighter in this shootout scenario. But to further complicate problems, Feral Rod is within 3 inches of seeing his champion being taken out of action, so he does have to take a cool test to see if his nerve breaks or not, and with a cool of 6+, you'd think he'd be able to pass that test. Unfortunately for Big Puka though, he fails his cool test for Feral Rod, so he runs back 7 inches, jumping directly into the crater in order to take some cover, and his nerve is currently broken, so he will not be able to do anything until the end phase when he manages to recover his nerve. And as crazy as that first action was, however, it was still part of a group activation, so Fee 5, the Ogre and Hunt champion, gets to activate next. And the thing he decides to do is declare a charge directly against Astaroth the Mirelurk, which is the Nocghoul who's located in the very top right-hand corner of the battlefield. So Fee 5 actually managed to make the entire length of the charge with the maximum of his charge distance, and he's within the 2-inch range of being able to strike against Astaroth the Mirelurk with his Chain Glaive, because the Chain Glaive does have a 2-inch versatile weapon trait on that. So Fee 5 is targeting Astaroth the Mirelurk with his Chain Glaive. He's got a 2-inch versatile trait attached to it, which he'll be striking at that distance. He is striking at strength 7 minus 2 AP as well as 2 damage. He has 3 attacks on the charge, and with a weapon skill 3+, Fee 5 needs to roll a 3+ or land wounds against the Nocghoul. So managed to strike all 3 times against Astaroth the Mirelurk, which is really bad for that Nocghoul, especially with that strength of 7 versus a toughness of 4. Now Astaroth the Mirelurk does have a little bit of higher toughness than most Delaque, but still getting hit with a strength 7 attack. So because that Fee 5 needs to roll a 3+ or to land wounds directly against the Nocghoul. The kiddo managed to land 2 wounds directly against Astaroth the Mirelurk. Now he is wearing mesh armor with an armor undersuit, which jumps up his armor save to a 4+, but the Chain Glaive does have a -2 armor penetration, so it drops it down to a 6+ in order to save. Unfortunately for Big Puka, he fails both of his armor saves, and Fee 5 managed to put 4 damage directly onto the Nocghoul. So the kiddo rolls all 4 of injury dice, managed to put down out of action directly onto the Nocghoul, getting a Lessons on the roll on that one, 36. So because of that, Astaroth the Mirelurk will no longer be participating in the battle report, and he automatically goes to recovery, which means he'll mix out his next week's battle report. And since the kiddo is the only player who has fighters on the table left, she gets to activate for the rest of the turn. So the very first thing she does, of course, is activate Ryan, which is a Rattling Hunter who's got a flesh wound. Now Ryan takes a basic action to get back on his feet again to escape pinning, and another basic action open fire with his last pistol directly at Feral Rod. I'm sorry, not his last pistol, I do apologize, his last gun with a hotshot last pack. Unfortunately for the kiddo though, she missed her shot, so nothing much really happens there. So for the kiddo's next activation, she decided to activate Bashful, which is our Squat Hunter's arm with a long rifle, also has a flesh wound on him. She takes a basic action for Bashful to get back on his feet again to escape pinning. Another basic action, open fire with his long rifle with an infrasight directly at the back of Feral Rod. So the kiddo, of course, is targeting Feral Rod, firing with a long rifle with an infrared sight. Gets a +1 hit modifier because she is firing at the long range for that weapon. She is striking at strength 4 with -1 AP as well as 1 damage, and also the knockback weapon trait on this as well. So the kiddo needs to have the Blizzard skill 3+ for the Bashful, so she needs to roll 3 or higher in order to land a shot directly against the ghost. So not only does the kiddo manage to hit against Feral Rod, but also triggers knockback as well. So the weapon is firing at strength 4 versus Feral Rod's toughness of 3, so the kiddo will need a 3+ or to wound Feral Rod. Managed to land that wound no problem as well, and because Feral Rod is wearing mesh armor, he already gets a 5+ armor save, but with that -1 AP from the long rifle, it drops to a 6+, and unfortunately for Big Puka, he fails his armor save. So Feral Rod, of course, does go down, and when it rolls up for the injury dice, actually rolled up a flesh wound on him, so because of now he has toughness 2 instead of toughness 3, so he's a little bit weaker now to be and easier to wound, but he can still move, he can still fight, makes him very deadly still. So that very first and final activation over with, we go directly to the end phase for turn number 1. We start off with recovery rolls for the deep ones. So with Feral Rat, unfortunately for Big Puka, he rolled another serious injury result, so because the Ichabod the Arachna is still seriously injured, still laying on the ground, still bleeding out. Also because he suffered another serious injury, he loses a flesh wound as well, dropping his toughness from toughness 4 to toughness 3, which is a very precarious spot for him to be in, because he's almost right next door to Fee Fi, who could just easily charge into him and take him out with the coup de grace. And when it comes to Ichabod the Arachna, actually rolls a serious injury on this one. I do apologize for this. I made a mistake earlier in the video. I said basically the fighter had a flesh wound, but he was actually serious injury with a flesh wound as well, because he actually suffered 2 damage from that long rifle with knockback. So when they roll again for this character, they rolled another serious injury for him, and so because I lose another flesh wound, dropping down to toughness 1. So this guy's also in a very bad situation as well. So with that, we go directly to the top of turn number 2, and Big Puka managed to win the initiative on this one. Unfortunately for him, though, all of his fighters are seriously injured, so they're very limited in what they're able to do. So because of that, Big Puka activates Ichabod the Arachna first. And the only thing he really do is actually try to move Ichabod as far away as he can, moving him 2 inches back directly towards that crater, just trying to put as much distance between himself as well as the Venators who are slowly stalking towards him. So, spilling the blood in the wind, the killer decides to activate next, decides to activate Fee Fi, and does a double action declaring charge directly against Ichabod the Arachna. And as you can see, the killer had no problem making that distance, going directly into Ichabod the Arachna, finishes him off with the coup de grace, and puts a hand injury directly onto the ghost. Because of that, he will lose 1 point in his weapon skill, and he will also go into recovery, missing out on his next battle report as well. So with that devastating loss, Big Puka goes next. He activates Feral Rod, and the only thing he can do, of course, is try to crawl away as quick as he can. Goes like another couple inches directly towards the back of the battlefield to try to put as much distance between himself as well as the other Venators. And the rest of the turn is pretty much dedicated to the kiddo, so for the rest of the turn, she just has her fighters just do double movements forward, moving up as quickly as they can. Also just trying to take some pot shots with their weapons as well. I believe all of them moved up once and then open fired once, but unfortunately for them, they missed their shots because even though Ichabod the Arachna is laying down, even though Feral Rod is laying down, that crater's providing full cover, so they got -2 against their hits. However, though, it doesn't really matter all that much because in the end phase, what ends up happening is that Big Puka rolls another flesh wound for Feral Rod, which means that all of his toughness points are used up, so because of that, he goes out of action. Now, the nice silver lining about this, though, is when he rolls on the last injury table, earns better enmity towards the Venators, so because of that, Feral Rod will now have the Berserker trait where every single time he goes against Venators in the future. And he also makes a full recovery, which is also kind of nice. And with that, that takes us directly to the end of the game with a victory for the Venators, who managed to table Big Puka as well as the Deep Ones, earning a really significant upset victory over one of the highest ranked gangs in our campaign. So that being said, we're going to go directly to the post game because this battle report is now officially over.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.
Alright, now it's time for the After Action report. This is the part of the battle report we talk about what went well, what went poorly, and what we can learn for the next time that we do battle. This is the After Action report for battle report number 20 of our Necromunda Community Event campaign, and let's start off with the Deep Ones. Unfortunately for Big Puka, his gang did lose this scenario. Now, when it came to the Beastquake, though, he did manage to secure all of his territories, so he can generate income as well as boons from them. Now for his injuries, Darkhand Mandoth actually went out of action, suffering an out-cold result, so he makes a full recovery. Astaroth the Mirelurk end up getting convalescence, so because he goes to recovery, he'll miss out his next battle report. And Ichabod the Arachna also suffered a hand injury, losing 1 point to his weapon skill, dropping to weapon skill 5, and it also puts him in recovery, so he'll miss out his next battle report as well. Now, Feral Rod, however, got better enmity towards the Venators, so he makes a full recovery no problem, and at the same time, he also has the Berserker skill every single time he fights against Venators, which is actually quite cool. Now, no members of this gang did advance, and from their territories, from their settlement, they earn 1 point of reputation from that, as well as earn 50 credits from that territory. They still maintain control of their generatorium, and from their gambling den, they earn 2 points of reputation. Big Puka, of course, did call for spades on the card to be drawn on this one, and unfortunately drew the 3 of hearts because he generates no income from his territory. But at the same time, he doesn't lose any credits either. He still maintained control of the needleways that he has from his territories, but unfortunately, he did lose his Narco again, and he lost to the Wild 7 of House of the Venators. So he does manage to drop from territories from having 5 territories down to 4. He still maintains his alliance with the House Tai. And from the trading post, he got 50 credits from his territories, and when combined with the 50 credits he had from his stash, and with 100 credits in total. With those 100 credits, he actually spent on armored undersuits for Cold-Hearted Scytherex, which is his champion armor with a web gun, Sea-Thoughted Dagger, one of his ghosts, Feral Rod, as well as Ichabod the Arachna, was the very last of his ghosts in his gang. So now all those fighters have a 4+ armor save, which is good for them. Now for the reputation, they earned 2 points reputation with the scenario, as well as 3 points from their territories, bringing the grand total reputation to 35 points in total. The new record now is at 4 wins and 4 losses, and the new gang rating is at 3,220 points. So now we move on to the Venators. The Wild 7 played with Melissa's the kiddo who managed to win this scenario. And just like Big Puka, she was able to manage to secure all of her territories with the Beastquake campaign event. Now for injuries, she actually suffered no injuries in this battle port, but she did have a couple advancements with the members of her gang. V5 leveled up to level 1 and rolled on the combat skills and gained the Rain of Blow skills and increased his credit value by 20 credits. And Doc also rolled up on the advancement table, earning level 2, gaining +1 to his toughness once again, making him toughness 5 now, and also increasing his credit value by 30 credits as well. Now from their territories from settlement, they got 1 reputation as well as 10 credits. From the Rogue Dog shop, they still maintain the services of Dr. Huntsman, their Rogue Dog, as well as generate 10 credits from that territory. From their drinking hole, they actually managed to get nothing from that, but from their own ruins though, they're able to get 30 credits, and that was due to the assistance of Crimson Oracle, their Doom Runner. And of course, she did manage to capture a Narco Den from the Deep Ones, and because her leader is a House Escher Hunt leader with that house legacy, she actually gets to maintain boons as well as income from that territory, so she earned another point reputation as well as 30 credits for her gang. She still maintains her alliance with the Bissell Ferryman team. Now when it comes to the trading post, she got 70 credits from the scenario as well as 80 credits from the territories, and when combined with Grumpy's Fixer skill, she earned another additional 20 credits, bringing her grand total to 170 credits in total. With those 170 credits, she spent 150 of those credits in order to purchase armored undersuits for Snow, White Line, Nightmare Bestia, Sneezy, Happy, V5, Faux Fum, as well as Sleepy, and she took the remaining 20 credits and put it directly into the stash. For her reputation, she earned 1 point reputation from the scenario, as well as 2 reputation from her territories, giving her a grand total of 18 reputation in total. Her new record now is at 4 wins and 3 losses, and her new gang rank now is at 3,160 points. So there you guys have it. Battle Port number 20 of our campaign for Community Event is now in the books. And as always, if you guys end up using anything from the community event, either the rules, any of the game mechanics that we came up with, please let Dr. Drybrush or myself know about it. We'd love to see exactly how you guys are engaging with the material. As always, please feel free to like, comment, and or subscribe. Your guys' input is valuable to us as always. I am Commander Cheapskate. I will catch you guys in the next video. Peace out and stay classy.